Hello, Happy Valley. Over the last few weeks, we've been working persistently with 1-point and 2-point perspective. So today's video is just a refresher or additional practice with these formulas. I'm going to draw letters in perspective as well as show you how to set up a 1-point or 2-point perspective room. These practices are not an aimless assignment, but are designed to give you a full repertoire or collection of ideas for when we go to work on the final project for space. Let's get started. Before we get started, you're going to need the following materials: some white paper, a ruler, a pencil with a really good eraser. So what we're going to do first is we are going to go back to 1-point perspective. This is kind of a refresher. We've taken a little break from 1-point, so I want to make sure that we don't forget how it functions. Often I've learned that when I go from 1-point to 2-point, then we forget how to go back to 1-point, or we get things a little bit confused. So this is just kind of a refresher. We're going to do something a little different though. We're going to do letters in perspective. So 4 letters is all you need. I'm going to do HVHS for Happy Valley High School, but you can do any 4 letters if you wanted to. You can even do more, but 4 is the minimum. So we're first going to draw them out. Space them well on your paper. Don't put them all right next to each other. And if you recall from the first unit when we were working with letters, if you're not really good at drawing your letters, write them out first. So I'm going to just demonstrate how to do this first one. Also, I would try to avoid curved letters if you're one of those people that has difficulty with it. So write out your letter first, and then simply stay away from it. You want to pretend like it's a bomb and it's going to blow up. So you're just going to simply stay away from it. And I'd also recommend drawing more geometric letters, meaning that your endpoints are linear lines. If you do a lot of things that are curvilinear, it's going to be a little bit more confusing. If you understand how perspective goes, do it. But if you're one of those people that are having a tough time with this, avoid it. And once you have that drawn out, then you can go back in and erase the internal letter that you drew. So what I want you to do is draw out 4 letters. When I come back, all 4 will be done. All right, so now that we have our 4 letters, you can do this as either a bird's eye or a worm's eye, or you could do a mix of both. I'm going to do both just so that you can see the difference in the two. So I'm going to do the first 2 as a bird's eye. I'm going to do the second 2 as a worm's eye. You can do the same thing if you would like. So what we're going to do for a bird's eye, remember you can see the tops of the letters. So I'm just going to place a vanishing point above here. Now if you want to do all 4 of yours the same, try to place that vanishing point in the middle. But because I'm going to do these first 2 as a bird's eye, I'm going to place mine up here. And it doesn't have to be, it could be all the way at the very, very top of the paper. Okay. What you're going to do is from these corners towards that vanishing point. If you can draw towards the vanishing point without going through your letter, you're going to make a receding line towards that vanishing point. So from here, towards the vanishing point. Towards the vanishing point. I like to try to keep mine all around the same distance. It just looks really good. This one on the right-hand side, if I were to try to draw it, it would go through the internal part of my letter first, so therefore I don't draw it. This top left-hand side right here, towards the vanishing point. Lining up my ruler towards that vanishing point. Bottom right-hand side, it would go through my letter. I don't draw it. Would go through my letter. I don't draw it. Would go through the letter. Don't draw it. Would go through the letter. Don't draw it. Last one would go through the letter. Don't draw it. Now it might help you if you make little dots on the corners. If that's something that would help you, place those on there before you start. Now that we've gotten all our receding lines, we need to finish these up. You want to mimic what's happening in the front. Okay, so we have this horizontal line, and we want to mimic that. I looked down at my screen and I thought, oh, why are we not zoomed in, Miss Sesses? So anyway, we want to match the front of that. So I'm simply going to connect those two receding lines with a parallel line to the front. Right here, we have a vertical line. So connect these two receding lines with the vertical line. I want them to be about the same length as this one, the same distance as this one, so I'm going to come in here. I'll just clean this up. And then right here, we have this open space. We want to match that same thing. So in the space that I can see, I'm going to draw that across. Last thing we have is this receding line. We want to match what's happening in the front back here. So you draw the part that you see, and my H goes really far back here, so I'm going to bring this to that point. Actually, I didn't even have to do that because I wanted it to be around the same length as this, so that's why I laid my ruler up there. I made that line here, but in fact, it wouldn't make it that far. So anyway, there is that first letter. Let's do this next one. And if it helps you, make some little dots on these little corner pieces. And then line them up towards that vanishing point. If it can go to the vanishing point, you're going to draw it. Always, always, always use that vanishing point. This won't go, this won't go. Here's that middle one, and it won't go. So this one's kind of easy. I want to keep it at the same distance as my H. So I'm just going to line that up with the original over here. Same thing. And now we have this open space. We want to match what that is. So I'm going to line my ruler up with it and slide it over. Draw my line. It's that simple. So that is a bird's eye view. I'm going to do the next two letters in a worm's eye view. So for these two letters, we're just going to place our vanishing point somewhere below them. Doesn't really matter where you want to do that. You just place your vanishing point below them. And the same exact process from these corners towards that vanishing point. If it could go towards the vanishing point, then draw. Check these corners. That one won't go. I know that one won't. That one won't. This one, let's see if it will. Just a hairline. This one won't, this one won't. So what we want to do is mimic that. So we have this line right here. We want to mimic it right here. Down in this space. These ones we want to mimic. And then this part right here. I go through, get rid of all my extra stuff. And there we have it. Now this next letter is a curved letter, so it's a little bit different. But what you want to do is go from these corners, so you've only got these four little pieces towards that S. Can they go towards the S? This one, yes, just a little bit. Don't worry about the other letter, okay? You want to focus on your one letter. So if it can't go through the letter you're working on, then there's a problem. If it's on this letter and it's going to go through the other letter, you can still draw it. It's just an overlapping thing. So this corner won't go, so I'm up here. That one will. This one will slightly. I mean, it's going to be really, really tiny, but it will go towards it. So how do we do these curves? Now what you can do is you can place little dots along the outer banks of that S, or outer banks of these curves, to see if they're going to go towards the vanishing point. I can just, because I've worked with perspective for so long and I just have a keen eye for this, I can look at this and tell where I need to make those lines to. But what I would do if you're not as experienced and you're not necessarily comprehending it like I'm able to, make yourself a few little dots along that border and see if those dots can go towards the vanishing point. So I know that right around here I can go towards the vanishing point. So I'm going to simply just give myself a little line. I know all up in here I can, but when I look right about here on this side, it will not. Down here, I can do almost this entire side. Underneath the S, I can do here. So I've kind of got these placed around here. And what you want to do now is you want to just simply connect with that same curve. So here's the curve here. I'm going to connect. I like to sketch it. It makes it a little bit better if I sketch it. Why do you sketch? I see it like a relationship. You don't want to go straight to marriage. Okay, you want to date and get to know somebody. Same thing when we're drawing. You don't want to, commit to something right off the bat. You want to sketch it out, develop that relationship with those lines. And then once you've got a bunch of little lines, little dashes on here, then you can go and get married and pick out which ones you want to keep. I know that's a crazy analogy, but that's how I teach it. So I've connected that part right there, and then we're going to work in this curve. I want to follow this original shape. And I'm actually going to get rid of that little receding line because it's going to make my letter look a little funny. I only used it to help me get the letter on here. And think about it, you shouldn't be able to see two sides at once for our letter. So where this one ends is probably where this one should end, or where this one begins, this one should end, is what I meant. And then we want to mimic this right here, right here. And voila, a worm's eye view of letters in perspective. Now that we've done letters in 1-point perspective, we're going to move on to 2-point perspective. So as you know, 2-point perspective starts off with the angle first. What we're going to do is we're actually going to divide this into two. So again, we're going to be working with 4 letters. I'm going to stick with my whole HVHS. If you want to do a different set of letters, you can. But what we're going to do is we're going to have an angle. So I'm just going to kind of put a vertical line in this space representing that angle. And I'm going to have letters on the left-hand side, 2 letters, the HV on one side, and then the HS on the other. So in order to do that, I'm actually just going to map it out a little bit. I'm going to first place my vanishing points on here. And then I'm going to place the space in which those letters have to work. This is a little challenging. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write HV on this side and then HS. Well, or you can do whatever letters you want. It's really good to use that ruler. So here's the first part of my H, here's the other side of my H. Any of that middle part of the H that's going to go away from us towards that vanishing point is going to use the vanishing point. So I'm just going to make the other sides of the letters first before I start. So I've got that. Now I need to make that middle part of my H, so I'm using the vanishing point. And I'm going to come in here and erase that middle part. I'm going to really darken these top corners. And there we go. I'm going to get rid of those receding lines. So there's our first part of our letter. Now let's do the V. I'm going to go at an angle. I'm going to use that bottom as the base of my V. Make the other side. And I'm going to get rid of all this extra hoopla. Now we want to make these look three-dimensional. So this is kind of our angle. Now the bottom part of that H needs to go towards that right-hand vanishing point. So if the bottom parts, if you know, you can put those little dots on there again, but if they can go towards that letter, or I'm sorry, towards that vanishing point, you're going to draw. This one won't go. The second one down here, it will go. Line that up with that vanishing point. Draw towards it. Up here at the top, it'll go towards that vanishing point. Draw towards it. Towards it. None of this stuff will actually work. So this one's pretty easy. Draw these down, draw that down. Connect those. And we have an H in 2-point perspective. Let's move on to the V. This bottom left-hand side, if I were to line up my ruler, will not work. This right-hand side can draw towards that vanishing point. Up here at the top, this one won't go, this one will. Towards that vanishing point. This one won't go, this one will. And then simply connect them. We want to keep that same line, so I line my ruler up with the angle of that V, slide over to the end, connect these receding lines. Same thing here, keeping that same angle, slide my ruler over, bring that receding line down. Quite simple. Clean up all these little extra lines that we put around the letters. And let's go to the other side. So we're going to do HS, or I'm going to do HS. You don't have to do those same things. I'm going to use this angle as part of my H. So I'm going to make the other side of my H. Make the legs of my H. Anything that's going away from us is going to use that vanishing point. So we got to use that vanishing point to draw the middle part of our H. Erase this stuff so it's all connected. Thicken these bottom lines and top lines. Oop. Erase all this extra stuff. All right, the S. This is going to be fun. You want to keep it in this middle space. And I'm going to give myself a little, receding line to let me know that's the halfway mark for my S. That's where that deep curve should be happening. So I just want to kind of sketch this out on here. So I've handwritten it. And now I'm going to do what I always do. I avoid that letter, or I'm going to make it into a three-dimensional letter. Come in here and get rid of all this extra stuff. All right, same thing, except we're using the opposite side for our letters. So we're going to start off with this H, go towards the left-hand vanishing point, up here towards that left-hand vanishing point. And that V is kind of in our way, but not really. Down here at the bottom towards the vanishing point. Towards the vanishing point. None of these middle parts will go towards it, so I just need to simply draw the other parts of the legs. And there we go. Lastly, our S. Same thing that we did above. Look for those points, see if you can draw towards them. Connect this with that same line. This, you're going to follow that shape. Top part, we can't see that corner. So we're just going to kind of follow the shape. Where this ends, this should begin. Where this ends, this should begin. Our S is a little goofy. Those are hard to do. Again, that's why I say stay away from more curved letters, especially when you're working with two-point perspective. She's a little goofy, but that's all right. And that's how you do letters in two-point perspective. All right, this last little thing is I'm going to show you how to set up a room for a one-point perspective scene, and then I'm going to show you how to set up a room for a two-point perspective scene. So what you're going to do is just, give me sketch a little square on your paper. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to sketch this out. So we got us a nice little square on here. And what I would like you to do is draw a smaller rectangle or a smaller square inside that space. You can just sketch this out. It doesn't have to be precise. If you're one of those people that needs it to be precise, then use a ruler. So something like this. Now we'll say that this is a bedroom of some sorts. Okay, so these corners, from these corners go towards the other corners, connect them. And if you have a further distance from the walls, if you want a bigger room, you're just going to make this square tinier. Okay, so we could even say that there's another room inside that room if you wanted to. Okay, but the smaller the square is really the further back into the distance. So if we're just making a tunnel, we could do something like this. All right. So if you are closer up, make the inside square a lot bigger. All right. If we're further away, make it teeny tiny, and that gives you a lot more space to work in. All right. But all you're going to do is place that vanishing point directly in the middle of that square. And now you have a room set up. So you could add things to this. If you wanted to add a rug on the floor, things are going to go towards that vanishing point. Okay, so you're going to draw towards the vanishing point on the sides. Right. You could add a a picture frame on the wall. Sides of it are going to go towards that vanishing point, towards the vanishing point. Right. You could add a piece of furniture. So let's just say we're going to add a bookshelf. Here is the side of the bookshelf I see first. Again, I'm sketching, so this should probably be further down because it's on the ground, Miss says. All right, so let's, we've got like a bookshelf in here that we're adding. Sides of it are going to go towards that vanishing point. Bottom towards the vanishing point. I meant top and bottom, not sides. Top and bottom are going to go towards that vanishing point. We're going to finish this off right here, okay? And if we've got a nice little bookshelf, any of the shelves are going to go towards the vanishing point. Towards the vanishing point. All right? You could even have, you know, a big old sky window up at the top. Just these receding lines are going towards this vanishing point, okay? So that's drawing a, you know, setting up for a 1-point perspective room. Let's do a 2-point perspective. So I would like you to, again, draw this out and just simply set up the room, okay? Give me a picture frame on the wall, or give me some kind, just a box on the wall. Give me a box on the ground to represent like a rug, and give me some kind of a piece of a furniture. Okay. 2-point perspective. Same thing. Sketch me out a little box, a little rectangle, a little square. Okay. So for this, we are seeing the angle of the room first, right? So we're going to draw that angle within this space. If it's further away, make a smaller vertical line. Make a smaller angle, okay? And simply from this angle, you're going to draw out. Now, if your walls, you know, if you see a lot more ceiling to it, it's up to you as to what point of view that we're looking at for these walls. But from these angles, you decide what the angle is going to be. It could be really high up. It could be a lot lower. Okay, so you decide as to what the position of that is. And remember, if we are further away, this angle just is a little bit smaller. And simply, now we have a room. We can put our horizon line if we wanted to here. We could put our vanishing points down low. We could put them up high. So if we're going to add something, you know, on this wall right here, simple. It's going to use that opposite vanishing point. Anything on this wall would use the left-hand vanishing point. All right, if we're going to draw a rug, going towards the left, side going towards the right. Okay. I'd like you to, you know, do the same exact thing. Give me something on the walls. Give me at least 2 things on the walls. Give me something on the ground, and try and do a piece of furniture in the room, whether that's like a bed or a desk or a you know, whatever you want to do. Add something onto this. Okay. In a 2-point perspective room. All right, good luck.